So, David, could you tell us a little bit about your personal journey and how you went from, I believe your training was in engineering, to the CEO of what you call the happiest company in the world?
Yeah, it's a long story, but to make it short, I studied engineering and I was working in the food industry for not that long, maybe 2-3 years. And the truth is, I always wanted to build my company and do it my own way. But even though I was treated really well by the companies I work for, I realized that the corporate world was not for me. And I wanted to do it my own way. So that's how I came to co-found Cyberclick. And that was a little bit by chance because it was my sister's husband, who my brother-in-law is, right? He had the idea of building a company, and we were discussing, and finally we started together the company. And that was back in 1999, so it's a long time ago. And the first thing I realized, well, it's hard to build a company, but it's not that easy to create a great company to work for. So even though I thought I could do it better, at least the first year we struggled a little bit, because even though we were a startup, we were on the internet in the end of beginning of 2000, before the crash. So everything was thinking like internet was going to change the world, the way people working, that you can go and work with wearing a t-shirt. And even though we did all those things, we still had some of the ways a company is organized, a traditional one, like some hierarchy, some stupid rules that you're doing them because everyone is doing them, and that it took us really long. It was a long process. It was more than I would say at least 6 years, 5-6 years, where we start to say, okay, we need to do it differently. We need to change, because at the end of the day, we're building a company as the ones I didn't like, and then we start to change. We start to our process, and the first thing was learning about other companies. So one thing I did is read a lot of different companies, and obviously Virgin was there, Semco, NCR Holdings, so different companies that we start to see that there was a different way, and we start to create our own process to try to be a happy company. And that was long still, no? First it was the learning, so I read tons of books about the topics, everything I could grab. But later it took us several years to fine tune and define exactly what things we could do to be a company where you want to work.
And what is, for you, why is happiness at work so important? Because it seems you've written a book about it, and it seems like Cyberclick now is very much organized around happiness. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, the first thing is what we understand for happiness, no? And there are several ways to understand happiness. For me, the happiness I'll talk about is fulfillment. Is the happiness where you can express yourself, where you can do something that relates to what inspires you, where you feel that you have the flow, and where you leave the company fulfilled and with more energy. That's the kind of happiness. It's not the hedonistic where you just lay out and have martinis or mojitos. So the idea is to do something that makes you feel better and makes you feel that it's not only our means to pay your rent, but it's something more. It's a way of expressing yourself. So that's the key point. And for me, one of the ideas came reading a book. No? It was like we need to. It has to be a priority for us. No? And I was reading this book from Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habits, where he explains the story of Alcoa and how Alcoa was changed thanks to be all the team around safety, no, that there shouldn't be any accident and no one should kill, no? And it seems that they created a habit where everyone was realized about safety, and they were taking care of their peers. And what I was reading, it's like, okay, that made sense at that time. At the end of the 80s and the 90s, we were talking about safety, we talk about quality, we were talking about environment. But I thought, okay, that was 2000, almost 10 maybe. Can't remember the year. No, when I was reading that is when I decided with the team. I think that nowadays in 2010, or what can really make a company thrive is to have the happiness and fulfillment at the center. And that was an idea we were working for. We were already talking about this, but that was a moment like, oh, that's something we need to do. And I'll sit with the team and explicitly say, well, this is a priority, but now we're gonna make it like the priority. It's gonna be the most important thing, and we're gonna measure happiness and fulfillment at our company, and we're going to have regular conversations about that. It's going to be a topic that we're going to give a priority. So that's a little bit the process. And from then we started to measure happiness, and we start to send every single day an email asking you how you arrived to the company and how you left. And that was with a traffic light. It was red, yellow, and green. And then that was like the tool we used to have the conversations. Because every single Monday when we had our weekly meeting, which was at 11 o'clock, we still do it at 11 o'clock, the first thing we do is check the traffic lights. So we have a conversation, and it's not more than 10 minutes, because nowadays normally everything is green. Sometimes we have some yellows, but the message at the beginning, we had some reds, and we had these discussions about that, and we decided to change some things in the company. So we had like some topics that we changed them, no? Like the kind of projects we work, or the way we organize, and that allow us to have those conversations that are not natural. Sometimes I ask to friends, okay, when was the last time your company, your boss asked you if you were happy at work? And some of them, they stare at me and say, "Oh, are you kidding? I mean, I've been working here for 10 years and they never ask me." And it's not normal. And I think that's a question we should introduce in the companies, because if you are not happy, there are plenty of companies to work for, and you can find any other where you can be fulfilled. For me, it doesn't make sense to spend all your life doing something that doesn't provide you fulfillment, because you're not going to thrive in that environment. If you're not fulfilled with what you're doing, it's like going against the wind. No? It's going to be always, everything is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. You're not going to flow, and then you're not going to be a great professional. Whereas if you do what you think you were born for, and you have a purpose to do that, then everything is going to be much easier. It doesn't mean it's going to be everything perfect and you're going to be everything easy, because you will have problems, as we all do, but you're going to face them in a different way because it's aligned with what you want to do. That's the idea.
I think it's really interesting because I think it sounds to me like you almost took quite an engineering approach, that you read The Power of Habit and you learned about this Alcoa story, and you thought there's something in that, there's something in focusing on one thing and then creating habits around that and measuring it and making it, kind of baking it into the way that you do things in the company. So I think there's quite a trend at the moment and people are talking about it in the press, and there's also been quite a backlash about happiness at work, and people saying like, oh, well, it's all great having foosball tables and slides in the office and stuff. So I think it's almost got a bit of a bad reputation. But I think your approach to happiness at work to me seems much more about having something that you organize around to begin with, and using that as a way of asking important questions, because books like The Happiness Advantage and various research and stuff has shown that when people are happy or when they're engaged, they perform better. So it makes business sense as well, of course.
Yeah, I think the point here is to align the company and the team. And that can only be done by both sides. Well, mainly by the team, no? And so normally the majority of companies, what they do is someone in an office decides that this year, this is the plan, this is how much we need to grow, this is what we need to achieve. And the rest of the team then need to adjust their life to that plan without being asked or without participating in that decision. So the idea here is to change that and allow the team to participate on where the company is going. I mean, at the end of the day, a company is a group of people doing certain things together, and what we try to do is align that. No, in our scale is okay. Let's ask every one of the team what you want to achieve this year at your personal level. I mean, this year you want to create a family, you want to study a master's degree, you want to prepare for a marathon, whatever it is. And now, once you have clear what you want to do, let's make the company priorities together. Let's make sure that they are aligned. Well, there is not a conflict between them. Because if there is a conflict, you're going to struggle. And if you struggle, you're not going to be fulfilled. And if you're not fulfilled, you won't do your task properly. So it's going to be lose for everyone. So what we try to do is align those two things. And to do that, what I say is not for everyone. I mean, there's certain people that they want to be told what to do. They don't want to spend their time thinking or about their life or about what they want to achieve or how the company can grow. And they just want to come to work and be told what to do. And that's fine. I think that's going to be less and less people that want that, but there's a percentage, I don't know what, but I guess it's big, of people that they don't want to be that proactive. No? And you need to find the right people that wants to be in an environment where they need to decide, because it's not easy. I mean, the easy thing is go with the flow and I'll do what I've been told to do, and then. But I think there you don't find fulfillment. No, it's like an easy life where you don't think about what are you doing here, what's the purpose, what makes you happy, where you can do an impact. So that's a little bit the kind of people you need to find. No? And if you find these people and center all the decisions around fulfillment and how your team can grow and how the company can grow, I think that's an advantage for everyone, and it's a real win-win.
It brings to my mind as well that, because I think there's a myth perhaps for some people that if you focus on happiness at work, if you have a truly happy company, that things are easy and everyone gets to do what they want and there are never any difficult conversations. But you mentioned yourself that having conversations about, are you happy, and looking at the traffic light and stuff provoked conversations that don't feel natural because we're not used to being asked if we're happy at work. But there's a definition of happiness that I read once that really stuck with me, that happiness is experiences of pleasure and purpose over time. And most people think of the hedonistic side of happiness, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But actually, if you think about that, they gave the example, for example, of parents who have, when they have children, their pleasure happiness levels go down. It's stressful, they don't get sleep,
Yeah.
But in terms of purpose, it's very fulfilling in their life. Otherwise people wouldn't do it, because nowadays it's not essential for people to have children. Some people choose not to, but that to me is quite an interesting kind of balance, that it's not just hedonistic, it's not just about pleasure, it's about purpose. And sometimes that means, it sounds like part of the culture here at Cyberclick is also to have conversations that are difficult, and sometimes you might have those conflicts between personal and company goals, for example.
Yeah, I can give you an example. We had a person that she was brilliant on what she was doing, but that was not what she wanted to do. I mean, So we had the conversation because she was giving when we were defining what you want to do in life, because we work that twice a year. For her, it was clear that it was not the task she was doing here. So, and we didn't have the kind of task she wanted to do. So there was a small task and she did it. It was great because it was her natural skill. What she was doing, she was very good, but we had the conversation. And if we hadn't had the conversation, probably she would have been hungry for like 6 months and the company is not listening me and this is not what I want to do. But we had the conversation and said, well, we don't have this task. Why don't we do a transition? And we try to put everything we can. I mean, we can give you context. You have free time to do. So we'll try to do our best so you can do this transition. And that lasts for a year. Finally, she was a year with us while she was preparing herself for her new venture. But it was good for everyone. I mean, the transition was good. She was happy. She was giving grins because she was on her way to the transition. For us, we had a person that was brilliant for a year, doing a great task. And once she left, it was good for everyone because we had already time to do the transition too. So, and that kind of things are difficult. No? It seems that if you want to leave a company, it's like a betrayal. And I don't see it that way. I mean, nobody is loyal to a company. Everybody is loyal to their priorities. And as far as the company is helping you with your priorities, you will be happy and fulfilled. But if your priorities are different, the company, what should do is try to help you as much as possible or in the means that you have. I mean, if you don't have means, so you cannot help that much. But sometimes there are small things that you can do for a person, like giving a contact or helping, maybe paying some education, whatever you can do.
And at Cyberclick, I know you have some practices that probably a lot of people would see as progressive, like you don't have a vacation allowance and or working hours, and people can work from wherever they want and things like that. And also you are self-managing, so there are no managers or bosses or things like that. So I'm really interested then to hear about your role as CEO and how and what you do with your time now, and if there have been any kind of challenges or tensions or inner conflicts for you in sort of letting go or
Yeah. Well, my time is all hedonistic. I spend all day in the beach now. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, well, the first thing, I don't like the role of CEO, so I don't use this role. I'm the co-founder of the company, and I'm someone else working here, obviously. And now I start to have some gray hair. I'm one of the oldest, so I have more experience than majority of the team. So that's something that allows me for some projects to have more voice than other people because I have the experience and they ask me. But my role here, I think it's an enabler. No, it's like, okay, what I need to make sure is that we have our rhythm, where we have our open discussions, where we have the meetings, and I'll try to provide as much value as I can in the areas I'm good. I'm good at marketing, so I'm good at innovation, so I'll try to work on those areas. But it's quite open. My role is like, it's not probably as the regular CEO, but it's more like an enabler, and depends on the quarter, because we set every year there's a big priority, and every quarter there is a priority for the quarter. So depends on the quarter. Sometimes I'm doing the task that an internship would do in a normal company, and sometimes I'm doing the task like a general manager would do, but it's not a fixed role, so it changes. But one of the points is that I have 17 years of experience in this area, so that helps in terms of understanding where the market is going. So normally in innovation, new products, I like to be involved.
and how are decisions made here? Do you have any tools or practices that you use to make decisions as a group, seeing as there's no top down?
Yeah, that's a good topic. Decisions are normally make in so we have like this planning. We follow a methodology named Scale Up, and that's for companies that grow fast. So we have our rhythm, which is we do two retreats during the year, where in summer we spend 3 days, and winter is two days. And that moment is a moment where we stop and we put like the rocks, the things that are important for the company, and that's an open discussion. So we send Google Docs where everyone writes down what they think need to be improved, and it comes a list of topics, and now we sit to talk about them. Also, let's put them in order. Let's see what goes first, and let's decide what are we gonna do. The other thing we do is on Monday we have lunch all together, and on that lunch we take the time to discuss the topics that need a discussion and need time. So that's how we make the decision. Right? If there's a topic that involves everyone, it's going to be discussed on Monday lunch. And so we normally buy sushi. We have and then we discuss about this topic. And then if there's nothing in that lunch, we talk about the company culture, and everyone needs to bring one example of our core values. And if there are topics, we discuss them. And since we talk about them every week, it's quite fast, no? Because maybe so this we'll share this information with everyone, and next week we come to a conclusion or we come to a decision of what we're gonna do. But that's the same with clients. So we talk about the clients or the projects we're gonna manage and decide if we want to do it or not. We have a open book management. We apply the book Open Book Management. Can remember the name of the author, but that helps again, no? Because when you see the numbers, now you see if the projects that we are doing are working properly, we are getting good results. We have a profit sharing tool that is discussed in those meetings.
So it sounds like, would it be fair to say that people are empowered to make decisions if they're close to the client or close to the product or whatever? But if it's a decision, a bigger decision, then you come together as a group, either in these meetings or in the retreats, and you kind of have I don't want to say consensus, but you have a group discussion about something until you make a decision that people are happy with.
Yeah, I would say consensus. Yeah, it's a consensus. So we get to a point where the majority of people sees that that's the direction we need to do. We are actually now changing our logo, and that's a consensus. I mean, if there's someone that would be radical, like I don't like that, then okay, let's keep working. And sometimes that's hard because some decisions it might take longer, but the more you practice, the faster you go. So at the beginning, some decisions were really long. I remember, particularly in hiring, it took us really long to make a decision. Like, okay, I have my doubts, I don't know, but now we have optimized the process so we can hire someone quite fast, and everyone participates in the process.
And you've mentioned to me before that you also organize in smaller teams, almost like team of teams.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that so you have kind of companies within the company.
Yeah.
And one of them has recently moved offices and spun off and has moved to Gracia. So does that help as well? Is there a thinking behind that in terms of having smaller teams where people can make decisions more effectively and have kind of stronger relationships?
I think that's something we need to learn. We're still quite small, no? Let's see, no? But what I've seen for the majority of companies, and what we have experienced, is for teams that more than 16 people, it's hard to have the time and the confidence among the people. So our idea is to build teams that will go from 10 to 20 people and then split them once they grow. And that's something we need to figure out how we're gonna do, because now we have done it in different companies, but now those companies are growing, and we need to figure out how to do it. And the idea, I think, is going to be that teams of teams, and then find ways that all the teams have a moment together. But the day to day and the decisions for the team are made within the team.
Because that's always an interesting turning point for self-managing companies, I think, is as you start to grow, it becomes more difficult to have those self-managing principles in place that happen quite naturally or more easily in smaller teams, in startups, for example. So are you feeling those tensions already? Are there kind of challenges emerging in terms of how do you keep that culture as you grow?
Not right now, but we can sense that if we grow more, we need to split the teams, because there's a moment where you see every meeting takes too long, every decision, and sometimes some people of the team you don't talk regularly, and I think it's important you have this day-to-day moment where you interact and you have a strong relationship.
And another thing that comes up time and time again when I talk to people about self-management and leadership, I'm really curious about if you left Cyberclick, for example, do you think someone else would take on the role of enabler, and do you think the culture would survive? Or do you think people would go back to a default of maybe a more traditional way of working? Or do you think what you've created here, culture-wise and in terms of the self-management ecosystem, do you think it's evolved to be self-sustaining?
I don't know. The truth is, I don't know. It depends on the people that stay. At the end of the day, depends on the people that stay. So it could be this way, or it could change really fast. What I suspect is that if you have tried self-manage and you've been if you have participated in the decisions and you've been taken into account, for you it's hard to go back. I think that's for sure. But I still think that there's everyone puts things in a balance, and maybe okay, now you don't have that freedom, but you have something else. So I don't know. I think people we all adapt, and I always say this is not the best management system. It's the best management system for us, but maybe for another company or for someone else is the worst management system in the world. So well, what you need to figure out is it works for you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in 3 years or 2 years we decide we need to change. I don't know. I have no idea. What I focus is how I can be fulfilled and the rest of the team can be fulfilled today. No, and tomorrow we'll see. But the important thing is how we are fulfilled today and how we enjoy what we're doing. My impression is that everyone wants freedom, and there's plenty of studies that support that. Everyone wants to be part of the decision. They want to be considered and not a number. But that goes with education. No, the more information a society has, and the more education, well, the more you want to be taken into account.
What have been the benefits for you then at Cyberclick? You said that this isn't the best management system for every company, which I think is a great point. But why is it the best system for you?
For me, it's a matter of it's almost like a mission in life to create almost like it's to create a company, well, to create the happiest company in the world and be fulfilled. And for me, I think it goes back to my education and the way I work. My family, they had a small business, but they worked really hard. And I know it was ingrained like this idea of suffering and working, like okay, you need to work really hard. And I have a lot of friends that it's all together, no? That when you work, it's not positive, no? And I always wonder why. I mean, why you cannot work and be happy, no? Why you cannot have fun at work? Why? And for me, it's part of my what I want to do in life. I think that you can work and be fulfilled I think that your life is going to be richer if you are fulfilled. I talk about virtuous cycle in my book, which is if on Monday morning you are happy, you have more energy. And you arrive at work and your peers, they see that you have energy, that you can achieve things, and they have more confidence in you. That confidence allows you to do bigger things. So now you have more, how you call that, more self-confidence. And when you leave your company, you're laughing, you're happy. So your family, your friends, your kids, they see you laughing and they laugh back because that's the mirror neurons. So that's the idea. So for me, I think that everyone would have a more fulfilled life if what we do professionally allow us to be fulfilled.
So for you, it's a personal mission, really, and something, a value that's very important to you about leading a fulfilling life and work being part of that, rather than being just a means to an end.
Yeah, correct. That's on my point. Like, how can you be fulfilled through what you do? Because well, I think that when you create things, when you do something that is meaningful for you, you are more fulfilled, and that's what I want to prove, that you can create a company, and that company can help you to be happy and fulfilled.
And I imagine also, you mentioned before about innovation being important here. I imagine that working in a self-managing way is conducive to innovation because you can be more responsive. You're creating a safe environment for people to speak up or have different opinions or perspectives, to try things and sometimes to make mistakes, and for everyone to be involved in decisions. So it seems like innovation and self-management also kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. I think a lot of the innovation is, no, we all can be innovative, but the companies, the way companies are set, don't allow us to be innovative or take all our energy, because if you have to fill three forms before you can have access to something, well, then the next time you don't do it, and you forget about innovation, and you don't propose any new idea, and you are not engaged. So in companies, we need to try to connect with that innovation from everyone. And when you make things that organize things that make sense for people, and that they think they are put in the center, they want to contribute and they bring their best ideas.
And finally, you mentioned that along your journey, you've read a lot of different books.
Yeah.
If you could pick one book that you would recommend to listeners who are interested in self-management or in new ways of working, what book would you recommend?
There are several. No, obviously, the book from Frederic Laloux, no, that you reinventing organizations. That would be one that it's very inspiring in terms of how companies are organized, and you see a lot of examples. Then the books from Ricardo Sembler, from Richard Branson, The Great Game of Business. And there's a book that we read that is not for organizing companies, but it's for life. But that's something I would recommend for any company, is Crucial Conversations, which is a book that everyone who comes here, in the welcome pack they receive, because it's a book that helps you to express your feelings in a way that it's positive, because we normally have a problem of communication, that we have a hard time trying to express our feelings, or trying to say something difficult to someone. So the book helps you to give a hard message in a way that can be received properly. And well, that's one I would recommend for improving the communication in a company.
And if there's, what would your dream be for the future of work in general, not just Cyberclick, but what would you like to see in organizations in the future? What would you wish that there was more of in the world?
I think the companies will change. That's for sure. The way we are organized. So my dream would be that people are fulfilled. No? What I call inspiring Mondays. For you Monday is not a bad day, but it's a positive day where you do a task that you enjoy, and obviously everyone likes to have a weekend and do different activities. But what I would like to see is when you Monday morning and sometimes you go to take the metro, the subway. It's sometimes you see people that they are really struggling and they don't want to go to their companies. That's what I would like to change. That people have a work that they enjoy, and it's an open company where you can organize the best way for you and your peers and the company. And I think those three things can be aligned, and if you align them, companies thrive.